Sabrina Carpenter, man child, let's talk about it. How y'all doing? Welcome to Let's Talk About It, music review.
Jif peanut butter. It's that jiffing good, it doesn't really need advertising. So instead, enjoy the calming sounds of the ocean. Jif. Ooh, it's that jiffing good. Get your Jif at jif.com.
Review Season 11. How y'all doing? Welcome to the show. Guys, we got a new song from Sabrina Carpenter. I saw this being teased a week ago. I knew we were going to be covering once it first dropped, guys. And hey, you know, for a single that's been teased all week, I would say this one is definitely worth the wait. We're going to go over everything, guys. But before we get into that, guys, I do have to make myself point. I just have to make a point here, you know. I think we've been covering a lot of Sabrina Carpenter lately. We covered that short and sweet album back in August. Then we covered the deluxe recently. And honestly, guys, I will say this. Sabrina Carpenter has definitely put out some very good quality music. Production-wise, vocal-wise, everything has been absolutely crazy. So how does Sabrina Carpenter follow that up with the new single, Man Child? Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Starting off with the beat. I'm going to say this, guys, this might be one of the better pop beats that you could, listen to. It does remind me a little bit of, that deluxe, that short and sweet deluxe where we got to see a lot more of the instrumental really take its swing, Guitars on this song get a little bit more shine, there's some guitar solos, there's these little mini instrumental breaks that just kind of happen throughout the track, and honestly, I think that just provides a lot of value to that track, that makes the track where you go, all right, that's just going to absolutely hit. When you have all these little instrumental breaks, all these little mini switch-ups, a moment where the guitar can really go off and do its own thing. I love the southern kind of, the southern, shine that's on throughout this whole song. You have the guitars going absolutely crazy. You have some orchestra in the background really absolutely killing it, just adding some soul to the overall vibe. And guys, I will say this, I think this is one of the more, complex, pop, tracks that I've heard from Sabrina Carpenter. You don't get a lot of, moments where the instrumental can really just take a life on its own. And I think that's a really heavily underrated thing. Sometimes, guys, when we, rely on production, or we don't rely on production at all, and we make these basic-ass pop-produced songs, you're going to get that sound, Man Child, to me, has a little bit of a different sound to it, which I like. And I also like the fact that, the background vocals are still really killing it. I think Sabrina Carpenter, adding those R&B elements of the background vocals to really, just give a little bit more energy to the track, really give a lot more soul value to the track, really wants to make you feel the hook and etc. I like that, guys. Now, we do have some negatives, though, and I think one of the bigger negatives in Man Child is going to be, I do like Sabrina Carpenter's, the playness, the humor that she puts in her songs. I will say, though, I think, the humor at the end, about the overall song about a man running back to a woman and stuff like that. I like it, when that's played up at the end, when it's, combining the vocals, it's combining the singing, it's combining that with the silliness and the humor. When we have these moments where Sabrina Carpenter just kind of, chills out a little bit and just starts talking throughout the song, I'll be real, guys, I don't like it from Drake. I don't like it from Playboi Carti. When Playboi Carti is fucking talking about baby boy throughout the whole track, I don't like that either. It's the same thing with Sabrina Carpenter, You're going to have that talking. It's just going to bring the track down in my overall gosh darn dang opinion. Also, the next thing I am going to say, guys, one of the most negatives I have to say, probably the biggest negative of this song is probably going to be the hook. I think the vocal performance on the hook is not the best. I've heard better from Sabrina Carpenter. I've heard better vocals. And I think, I think the man-child thing only works a little bit. It takes a lot of time to get into the track. Guys, I'll be real. This sounds too much like, the short and sweet album. And I think this hook really sounds like, all the other tracks that I've listened to, off that album. So having a hook that, honestly, I will say sounds the same, it's a little disappointing. Maybe you could have switched it up. Maybe we could have switched it up with the vocals. Maybe we could have added some more background vocals. Maybe we could have, just did anything else. I will say the flow of the hook stays the same throughout the first hook and the second hook. And honestly, guys, when you have that same hook throughout the same song, it gets a little boring. Now, the good thing about this song is that, the instrumental is very lively on this track. The guitars got their own little solo. You have moments where, you have some orchestra elements in the background. There is all these little elements that definitely do help out. But I will say this, guys, that hook is a little lacking. It's very lacking in my opinion. The flow just kind of stays the same, and, the hook's a disappointing factor. Now, let's get into the verses. We got to get into that now. Starting off with the first verse, I will say this. Besides the talking in the beginning, the singing is definitely on point with the verse. I do like that. I like the flow overall. Sabrina Carpenter can really flow on a track. And I do like this, having these little bitty flow switches, having these little, vocal switches too that just add a lot of great value to the track. So I do like that too. I will say, these verses are like if you, came to a church on a Sunday and, you had the Sunday church meal. It feels homey. It feels good. It feels great to listen to. It's good to eat. It's good food. It's homemade. Everything of those elements are definitely there. So you definitely get that. And then I will say this, the second verse does a lot more better. I think the first one was a pretty good starting point. But I will say this about Sabrina Carpenter, she always shows out. And for the hook to be a little basic, in my opinion, the hook's just kind of all right. To have that second verse really add some great value, really add some great, to be able to switch the vocals. There's a lot of more vocal switches in the second verse, those background vocals that's, doing the amen thing and the amen thing in the background. I think all of these little elements just really come together when you listen to the track. And I think, having that second verse provides some great value. So, guys, look, overall, when we talk about this song, when we talk about, Sabrina Carpenter, Man Child, I will say, guys, I think this is a nice track to really start out. First of all, the production goes absolutely insane. I think this is probably one of the best produced Sabrina Carpenter songs that I've heard. And we've heard quite a bit on this show. We've reviewed quite a bit of songs on this show. But I'm going to say this. I think Man Child might be up there. It might be up there production-wise. Now, is it as strong as the hook? Is the hook as strong as the other songs? No. I think this hook is one of the most weakest hooks that I've heard from Sabrina Carpenter. That's what I'm going to say about that. It's a pretty weak hook. But I will say the two verses have some great quality to them, have some great life to them. And when you're listening to the track, it's like, oh shit, these verses actually go really crazy. So guys, overall, when we talk about Man Child, is Sabrina Carpenter coming back to music, dropping a single, Man Child, does it hit the same? Does it still go crazy? Guys, hey, I'm going to say this is a pretty good track. There's some little hiccups. There's some little issues that I have with this track. But, I have issues with all tracks I listen to these days when I do reviews. So, guys, overall, this is a pretty good song. I'm going to have to just give it a 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10, guys. What y'all think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I don't know. Let me know. Guys, if you're on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast at, make sure you follow, turn on notifications, guys. And, hey, look. There's an episode out for 8 p.m. There's going to be an episode out on 11 o'clock. All right, 11 o'clock, there's going to be another one. All right, 2 episodes right now. Guys, we're fully back. New content every single day, so make sure you follow this show. We got a lot of reviews coming. Lil Wayne, we got Glorilla, we got a lot of content to talk about tonight. So make sure you come back tonight, guys, and we'll see you later. You have a good one. Bye. Sabrina Carpenter, Tears. Let's talk about it. How y'all doing? Welcome to Let's Talk About It Music Reviews Season 11. How y'all doing? Welcome to the show. Guys, we got a great episode for you today. It's officially time. As y'all know, I've been telling y'all for like a month now, the Sabrina Carpenter Marathon has officially started. This is the first episode, guys. How y'all doing? Welcome to the show. This album's officially out. I will be listening to this album. I will be reviewing this album. And we're also going to be doing a little bit of a compilation too, guys. So we're going to be so much content for this album that we're talking about. Guys, we're ending off a good month with some good Sabrina Carpenter music, and this song's called Tears. And before I even get into the song, let's just talk about the music video, because this music video is pretty creative. You know, I really like the horror themes of this album. I really like, you know, the horror, you know, inspired kind of like 60s and 70s kind of feel that you kind of get in this music video with the, you know, the soundtrack, etc. You know, I really think this music video is really good in my opinion. So I just want to say, if I was going to be reviewing the music video, which, you know, I really never do on this type of show, the music video alone is getting like an 8 out of 10 already. I mean, Tears has already got a really good music video. So let's get into this song, guys. Tears. This is the new album, Man's Best Friend. This is, you know, one of the tracks on it. First of all, let's get into the production. Guys, I'm not going to lie, the production here is just absolutely beautiful, you know. I really like how you got so much more, kind of, you know, some R&B kind of funky-like bass that is kind of throughout this whole entire track that just has its own kind of vibe to it. And I like how the bass is, you know, not that simple, you know, 4-second loop, you know. It actually has some personality to it. And honestly, it's just some really enjoyable bass in my opinion. But, you know, I really like the kind of sympathy, kind of orchestra sound that this song has, kind of mixed in with that kind of, you know, kind of, I would say, kind of some 80s funk kind of vibes going on here with the drums. The drums are just really engaging. They're snappy. They sound really goddamn good. I really do enjoy how the drums sound. Just absolutely goddamn fantastic. You know, I like how they have their own little switch-ups, too. But I kind of think, you know, the drums just kind of really work well together. And then you have all these, you know, you have really good piano. I really like how the piano, you know, has like a horror kind of spin to it. You know, it has that sound to it. And I like how, you know, it really matches well with, you know, all the violin.
I was deep in it, gaming on Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7. Unfolding the screen made it twice as big and so immersive, I kinda lost myself. Might have trolled a little too close to the sun. Someone in the chat told me to touch grass, so I took my Z Fold 7 outside and kept playing. Still won, got a tan, and a nice little reset. Powerful processor, realistic graphics, you stay locked in, streak stays alive. Can your phone do that?
The new Galaxy Z Fold 7. Get yours at Samsung.com.
The orchestra, the background vocals, the jazzy R&B-like elements that Sabrina Carpenter does, you know, involve in the music, which you definitely can hear, which I do definitely like in my opinion. You know, just adds so much complexity to these tracks, you know, just makes them really enjoyable to listen to. And honestly, guys, I really do enjoy how this beat just absolutely sounds fantastic. So, off the bat, guys, production is absolutely A1 on this song. You know, there's even a bridge on this song, and I really like how the instrumental, you know, goes in with the bridge, too. It's just like, damn. Like I said, guys, you know, I don't even need to get into it. If you listen to the last episode when I talked about my thoughts about Sabrina Carpenter, you goddamn know. But this is a prime example of, you know, keeping tracks fresh, having a really good sound to them, and just overall, just giving great quality goddamn music. So I will say production is absolutely A1. But now let's move on and let's get into the verses. Starting off with the first verse, I really like this verse. I really like the flow. I like the singing. The vocals are really goddamn good. I like how there's these little vocal switch-ups, these little different, you know, pop flow switch-ups too. Just, you know, keeps the song really engaging to listen to. Just keeps you want to keep listening to it over and over and over again, which is really nice in my opinion. I like the fact that we get that. You know, I like how, you know, there's so many different flow switches on this song, and then you get this hook. This hook comes in and just completely just takes over. You know, the hook is sung so well. The flow of the hook is so goddamn good. I mean, I won't lie to y'all guys. This might be, you know, one of the better 2025 pop hooks that I've heard. You know, there's been some pop music that I've listened to in 2025, and that shit is, you know, ass compared to this. I mean, holy shit. You know, I thought 2025 music was going downhill. Sabrina Carpenter's reminding me that music can be good again. Thank fucking God. So I like how, you know, there's already so much complexity. And then you get this hook, and this hook's vocals are just absolutely A1. The singing is, you know, just absolutely great. So yeah, I really do enjoy the hook. The hook sounds absolutely goddamn fantastic, guys. And I'll just be real. You know, when I usually review, a song that I usually pick off just the album, I usually pick a song that I'm not really going to, think of a music video. But already choosing a music video song, I think this was definitely the good call, because this song has definitely got me interested in the album. Already production is already better than Short and Sweet off this one song alone. The instrumental complexity is just so much goddamn better. And you could just tell that, Sabrina Carpenter's ear for production has definitely gotten way goddamn better. And you can just tell with this song alone, guys. So I really do enjoy what I'm listening to. We even get a bridge, and I'll be real, the bridge was really good. I like that little vocal switch up. I like how the R&B background vocals really start coming out. Once we do the bridge, it just sounds absolutely fantastic, So yeah, guys, I really do enjoy the bridge too. Sounds absolutely fantastic. So yeah. So when we talk about this song, guys, music video. Music video is absolutely goddamn fantastic. And then also another thing that's absolutely fantastic about this song is absolutely the instrumental. I mean, this is one of the best pop instrumentals I've heard in a long goddamn time. There's so much, life to this instrumental. And I think that's what's missing in a lot of pop songs today. It just doesn't have that life. And then, this has all the instrumental complexity. It has the piano, it has the strings, but, has the bass. But these things are not just, copied and pasted off loops and just kind of thrown into a production sound or a production, software thing. It's not like that. This actually feels, like a real ass song, which is really cool. That sound is still happening to this day, guys. So, Tears by Sabrina Carpenter is going to get a 9 out of 10 from me. 9 out of 10, guys. What y'all think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I don't know. Let me know. Guys, if you're on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast at, make sure you follow, turn on notifications, guys. The Sabrina Carpenter Marathon has begun. We got a lot more content coming out, guys. Track reviews all weekend, all week. Then we're going to be ending off with a compilation. Then we're going to be ending off with an album review. We got a lot of content coming out for this whole entire little cycle of this album. So make sure y'all follow on any platform that you're listening to, guys. I will see y'all later. Have a good one. Bye. Sabrina Carpenter, my man on Willpower. Let's talk about it. How y'all doing? Welcome to Let's Talk About It. Music Reviews, Season 11. How y'all doing? Welcome to the show, guys. We are back with the Sabrina Carpenter Marathon. We're reviewing Man's Best Friend at the end of the week, guys, so make sure you follow the show for that. But, guys, how y'all doing? We got a really good episode today because we got another Sabrina Carpenter review. And I'm not going to lie, guys, going from Tears, I thought Tears was good. Guys, nothing compares to this one right here. My Man on Willpower was like the next goddamn track off this album. And I said, you know what? We got to review this one too. I mean, holy shit. So, let's get into it, guys. Starting off with this beat, with this instrumental. I mean, guys, I really thought Tears was a really good instrumental. I thought all the symphony elements, the piano, the violin, all that type of stuff. And then I listened to this song, and this song is even 10 times better. When I said the drums stay the same on Tears, the drums don't stay the same on here. The drums have so many different switch-ups. There's also a lot of 80s synth-like elements, and there's also this mix of kind of, house, kind of acoustic, kind of country, too. That's kind of blended in really nicely together, and I really like how, it goes from one sound to another pretty smoothly. I mean, these are absolutely A1 transitions. I mean, this is better than any fucking, pop song that I've listened to that tries to do transitions. I mean, what are we goddamn doing here? So I really do enjoy the fact that we get a lot of transitions. Really like the violin on this song. That cello sound just sounds absolutely beautiful. These 80s like synths too just sound really good. That 80s bass too just really combines well, with the acoustic kind of, country house sound, which really goes well together. And I really like how the drums also have kind of a rock kind of sound to them. They have that rock kind of switch up when you listen to the song. And honestly, overall, guys, this is one of the best pop instrumentals that I've heard probably in a long goddamn time. I know, I didn't know already I would be saying this. I thought I would have to really get into the album to start talking like this. But No, the third track off the album, was already blowing me goddamn away. I just like how as the song goes on, it progressively gets more intense. The emotion of the track just gets more intense. There's all these different drum, switches that just add so much value to the song. Just wants to keep you listening to it kind of over and over and over again, which is just really, really enjoyable. Guys, I really love the fact that, when I listen to this song, that, you get a lot of great sounds from the instrumental. But let's move on now and talk about Sabrina Carpenter, starting off with the first verse. I mean, look, the country twang, Dolly Parton-like singing sound is back here. And I said it's one of Sabrina Carpenter's best sounds. I mean, the way she can sing like this is just absolutely crazy when you listen to the song. The vocals here are absolutely amazing. I like the different flow, vocal switch-ups that she does. And flow switch-ups, too, on the vocals that just, provide a lot of great value. This song sounds like, you're crying from your ex-preacher boyfriend. You're driving home from church and you're playing this song to, get over that feeling. So that's pretty goddamn funny in my opinion. And then the hook. I mean, the hook just goes absolutely insane. The hook has really great vocals. The switch-ups go absolutely insane. And honestly, overall, guys, this song has already blown me away than already what Short and Sweet ever did. I mean, this is kind of crazy. I said the deluxe was, one of the best pop deluxes that I've listened to. And then this album is already getting another very high goddamn score, which is just absolutely insane. So, overall, guys, when we talk about this song, when we talk about, Sabrina Carpenter, My Man on Willpower, instrumental, the violin, the background vocals, the 80s synth-like elements, the really great 80s bass, too, that just sounds absolutely fantastic. And then you also, get that with, some country elements, too, and I really do enjoy the country elements. I really like a hodgepodge of genres. I think when you can put genres together, you can really make your own sound, you can really make your own song sound very unique to listen to, and you're definitely getting that on here. And then, you have really good verses, really good verse switch-ups, really good vocal switch-ups, too. That country kind of twang, sound is throughout the whole entire track, too. Really blends well with this whole entire vibe. The hook sounds absolutely fantastic, when that bridge comes in and those rock drums start kicking in, too, at the end of the song. Just a really great instrumental break to kind of end off the song. So, overall, guys, I mean, shit. She did it again. I didn't know I had to get another score like this, but here we are, guys. Overall, I will be giving this song, My Man on Willpower, a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10, guys. What y'all think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I don't know. Let me know. Guys, if you're on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast at, make sure you follow. Turn on notifications, guys. We got more content coming. More reviews coming. We also got an album review at the end of the week. We got a lot of stuff coming, and I will be real. Already this album's kind of blowing me away, which I didn't know I would have to be goddamn saying. So, I'm going to keep listening to this album. Might be do some more track reviews tonight. I'll see y'all later. Have a good one. Bye. Sabrina Carpenter, we almost broke up again last night. Let's talk about it. How y'all doing? Welcome to Let's Talk About It. Music Reviews, Season 11. How y'all doing? Welcome to the show. Guys, we are continuing our Sabrina Carpenter marathon. We keep moving in as we keep moving in. And I'm not going to lie, guys, these songs just keep getting better and better as I keep listening to them. I mean, holy shit. I didn't know this album was going to be like one of those albums.
Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar, zero patience for slow walkers, those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night, have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Listening to a lot of mid lately. I'm listening to so much goddamn mid. Every time I go on Twitter and I see an album, they're like, yeah, this shit's, a 10 out of 10. I go listen to that album and I'm like, what the fuck am I listening to? So far, this album's getting really good, guys. So we almost broke up again last night. Let's get into it. Let's start talking about the instrumental. This instrumental is so good. It's that emotional, heartbreaking kind of violin, sad instrumental, but it's done so well. There's so many different drum rolls here. There's so many different drum switch-ups. The violin, the piano really just coming together, just making such a beautiful sound. I mean, Lord goddamn mighty, guys. This instrumental is just absolutely fantastic to listen to. The background vocals, the keys that just go so goddamn hard. I mean, Lord mighty. This song will make you feel things because, the violin is just speaking like that. I mean, holy shit. And also, too, I think these are some of the best lyrics that I've heard with a breakup-like song. There's so much humor to them, so much sadness, so much realness, too. The emotion on the hook with the singing just goes absolutely insane, in my opinion. And let's get into the verse. Starting off with the verse, the flow of the verse was just so good. The singing of the verse was just absolutely fantastic. I normally don't talk about lyrics, but, lyrics just went absolutely crazy on here. Just perfectly done. I mean, this is like... this is the best you can do. This is some of the best pop writing you can do. I mean, it's just so engaging to listen to. The humor, there's just little moments, just so picked out, just goes well together, in my opinion. And then you get this hook, this powerful-ass hook that also has switch-ups in between, and these vocal switch-ups just get more powerful and more powerful as you're listening to the song. I mean, holy shit. I can't believe when I was listening to this song, guys, I was just going, damn. The verses go crazy, the vocals on them are just so good. All these different vocal switch-ups, the way the instrumental can just slow down. There's also this acoustic guitar switch-up that just comes in, and I really like how that guitar just kind of has its own personality, really doing its own thing on here, which is just really enjoyable, in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, this instrumental just has a lot to it. So many different switch-ups just to keep you engaged as you're listening to the track. And I'll be real, one of the best, I'm not going to lie, this is some of the best pop instrumental I've heard in a long time. I mean, I'm becoming a broken record saying this, but damn, my expectations keep getting blown out the park. I mean, I was going, I remember I was talking about my thoughts about this album, and I said, I really hope, Sabrina Carpenter's ear for production gets even better. The complexity of the instrumentals get even better. And then I'm listening to this song, and this song has different, drum switch-ups, different violin switch-ups, different guitar switch-ups. There's different drum rolls that just go absolutely insane on this song. I mean, holy shit. You can't make a better good pop instrumental like this. If you're looking for a heartbreaking, sad pop song in 2025... I'm not going to lie, this might be one of the best that you can get. I mean, the enjoyability factor just goes absolutely insane. And honestly, guys, that bridge, there's even a bridge. And when this bridge comes in, the vocals just get even stronger. The singing gets even better. These, crazy-ass high vocal pitch vocal runs at the end just go absolutely insane when you're listening to the track. Some of the best singing that I've heard from Sabrina Carpenter. I mean, you thought Short and Sweet was good. This right here is some high-tier level fucking singing. I mean, holy shit. The singing alone is probably an 8 out of 10 alone. And then you pair it up with such a powerful instrumental. I mean, whew. The bridge just goes crazy. The background vocals go absolutely crazy. So, guys, when we talk about this song... And when we talk about, we almost broke up again last night, the instrumental, just absolutely beautiful. And then you got these, beautiful, piano, beautiful violin, beautiful background vocals, beautiful everything that's just in this track. And then also, guys, you got this such great written pop verses too that just, tell a great story. It's heartbreaking, emotional, lyrics are absolutely real. And then you get to that powerful last hook that just kind of closes off this song. That acoustic instrumental switch up too was just absolutely fantastic. And then that final bridge to that final hook, when the drum rolls kick in, it ends off the song. It's just overall really fire, guys. So overall, this song too will be also getting a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10, guys. What'd y'all think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I don't know. Let me know. Guys, if you're on Pandora, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast at, make sure you follow, turn on notifications. This is the third 9 in a row as we keep going, guys. Will the streak continue? Will the 9 out of 10s keep going? Will we get even higher? I don't know. So yeah, guys, I'll see y'all later. Have a good one. Bye. Sabrina Carpenter, Nobody's Son. Let's talk about it. How y'all doing? Welcome to Let's Talk About It. Music Reviews, Season 11. How y'all doing? Welcome to the show. Guys, we got a really great episode for you today. We are continuing our Sabrina Carpenter marathon of Man's Best Friend. And now, for anybody saying that Sabrina Carpenter was just going to sing about horny shit today, guys, we're getting a lot of heartbreak songs. We're getting a lot of heartbreak, emotional pop songs. And guys, I'm not going to lie, that's some of my favorite type of music. I love it when artists are speaking their truth. I love they're going absolutely crazy. And when you're broken, when you're heartbroken, you do make some of the most fire-ass music that you'll ever make in your life. So, let's get into this song, guys. This song is called Nobody's Son. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Starting off with the instrumental. I really like this instrumental. It has a synth wave kind of 80s vibe going. I really like the really banging like 80s 808s that sound absolutely fantastic. The synths here just sound so great to listen to, guys. I mean, I'll be real. This is one of the best 80s like pop instrumentals. I remember I was listening to Selena Gomez, in 2020, maybe the beginning of 2025. We were reviewing a few Selena Gomez tracks, and she was trying to do this, bedroom pop, 80s pop sound, and I think this is how you do it better, because there's actually some violins, there's actually some really great background vocals, there's actually some really great instrumental drum switch ups that just add so much value to the track, just add so much complexity, guys. So I really do enjoy the sound of this song. It just sounds so great. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, guys, this is, this could be one of these, download type of songs for me, guys. This is one of those I would add to my personal playlist for how complex this instrumental sounds. I like the 80s kind of funky R&B vibes with the background vocals too, and with the bass. It just sounds so good in my opinion. So this instrumental is just absolutely fantastic. One of the best instrumentals that I've heard. And I'll be real, I think this is one of my favorite songs off this album, which is kind of crazy to say. I remember, a long time ago we reviewed, like Good Graces or, Bed Kim. Those tracks had some, synthy kind of elements, but this is taking those synthy R&B elements and just kind of, upping the ante, which honestly, that might be a reason why I add this to my personal playlist. The lyrics, too, are really real. They're really emotional. They sound really good. It's about heartbreak. It's about, losing, the one that you love, etc. Just really comes together, in my opinion. The emotions on here with, the vocal runs. We're going to get into the vocal runs, but the vocal runs at the end of this song, the emotion on this track just really shows out. And it's absolutely beautiful, in my opinion. So yeah, guys, I really do enjoy this instrumental. This 80s synth wave, poppy, bedroom pop / R&B, but / emotional kind of, violin, cello, like pop. It just has so many goddamn elements to it. It's just absolutely fantastic. Let's get into the first verse. I really love the flow. I like the vocal style of the deep vocals, but then moving into more of the singing too. That just adds so much value. Just adds so much, complexity to the vocals. Just adds something great to it. Reminds me of Taylor Swift's, newer music. She used a lot more deeper vocals. She uses a lot more deeper vocals in her songs. So, Sabrina Carpenter also doing the same thing here. adds some nice vibes to it, in my opinion. And also, too, guys, I really do enjoy this hook. I think this hook is absolutely fantastic. You know, one of the best pop hooks that I've heard. And then you get to that final bridge with this hook, too. You got those background vocals. You got that violin. You also have a really nice flow. Then you have, you know, a great flow, a great nice little flow in the singing, and then you have that vocal switch up, and then you have that flow switch up, and then you have that vocal runoff that just goes absolutely insane with the hook. It just honestly blows my goddamn mind Sabrina Carpenter can go crazy like this. I mean, this is like some church level singing with this final bridge hook. It is just great to see, in my opinion, guys. So I really do enjoy that too. And honestly, hey, this might be one of the best tracks off this album. One of my favorite tracks personally now off this album. So when we talk about this song, guys, when we talk about, you know, Sabrina Carpenter, Nobody's Son, you know, I really do like the instrumental. I like the 80s, you know, pop R&B type elements that are in this. Also, you hear some, you know, some trumpets, some funkiness on this track, which is just really nice. And then you get into, you know, the verses. The verses just have so much great value when you're listening to them. And then you get into that hook, and that hook is just absolutely fantastic to listen to, too. And that ending vocal bridge was just so good. Guys, this is a personal playlist ad. If I'm going to recommend any track off this album, it's going to be Nobody's Son. This is one of the best tracks off this album. So, guys, overall, Sabrina Carpenter is keeping the streak alive. I thought I was going to lower it. I thought I was going to lower it today. But as I keep talking about this song, guys, I really like this song. And I think I'm going to be adding it to my personal playlist. So, I really enjoyed this song. Sabrina Carpenter, Nobody's Son is going to get a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10, guys. What y'all think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I don't know. Let me know. Guys, if you're on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast at, make sure you follow, turn on notifications, guys. I'll see y'all later. Have a good one. Bye. Sabrina Carpenter, go, juice. Let's talk about it. How y'all doing? Welcome to Let's Talk About It. Music Reviews, Season 11. How y'all doing? Welcome to the show. Guys, we are continuing our Sabrina Carpenter marathon. We're on the 5th track now. You know, I've listened to this album all the way through. You know, I fell asleep listening to it, so tell how my night went. Now, let's get into this song, guys, because we actually got a lot to talk about. Now, this is another song where we're kind of taking, you know, honestly, I would say not even a lot of, I would say the pop elements of this song is probably only the hook. I would say only the hook. But the rest of this song is honestly, I'm not going to lie, guys, this might be one of the best country-like ballad songs that we actually got on the album. So, let's get into it, starting off with the instrumental. You know, first of all, I really like the drums. You know, I like how the drums are not your basic ass, you know, there's these new drums out there, and there's always drums that you can get online that, you know, they're the rock-like drums. And I hear a lot on newer rock songs, you know, they have these, you know, only 5-second loop drum loops that just sound very basic, very boring, doesn't have a lot of life to them. And honestly, some of the worst drum loops I've heard has been newer rock songs. But, you know, this is one of the best examples of using, you know, some actual drums. You can really feel it. I like how they got their own personality. I do like how the drums, you know, stop and kind of speed up at the end of the song. You know, it just keeps you want to keep listening over and over and over again, which is pretty good. And also the fact, too, guys, I like how there's multiple instrumental switch-ups. And I haven't talked about this in a little bit because, I'll be real, a lot of songs I've reviewed on this show lately have been boring as hell. And that's why I'm covering sports now. But look, instrumental switch-ups are when you have different ways. You know, you have the violin having a go, you know, letting it do its own thing. Having the acoustic guitar, you know, play out. You know, letting the drums do the thing. You know, having all these elements, you know, actually really incorporate throughout the whole entire song. So I like that we get that. I like how the violin... Not a violin, I'm going to say fiddle because, you know, this is a country ballad-like type song. So, you know, you got the fiddle on there. The fiddle has its own solo in the middle of the song. And also there's this point where the song stops and the acoustic guitar comes out. And also has its own little solo, too, at the end. things kind of speed up, and then we go over a final rendition of the hook, which I really do overall enjoy all of the elements of the instrumental. The drums are good.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
The acoustic guitar is really good. It's got a nice country twang to it, which sounds really good. Also, the fiddle sounds really nice. I do like all these elements. And I'll be real, you know, I've listened to a lot of country songs on this show, guys. A lot of newer country songs. And I say newer country is some of the worst country you can listen to. And this is why, guys, because a lot of country songs use the same 5-second acoustic guitar loop. They use the same type of drums, and they wonder why their new country songs sound so boring, sound so generic, because you don't have a lot of good elements. You know, your fundamentals are ass, and when your fundamentals are ass, the song is going to sound boring. So I really do like how we got all of the instrumentation really working well here. So I really do enjoy this beat. The beat's really good, but let's move on to the verse. I do like the verse. You know, the verse is really engaging. The flow's pretty good. The singing's pretty good. You know, it's got that country kind of twang to it. And honestly, I would say some of the best, you know, southern, you know, country-like vocals are really done well here. You know, the singing's good. I like we have multiple vocal switch-ups that come in, which sound really fire, in my opinion. And then we also get, you know, then you get this hook. This hook comes in. And when this hook comes in, guys, I like how the hook, you know, has a switch up on its own. You know, it starts out with the same flow as kind of the verses, and then it switches to a more, you know, singing, and then we get some powerful vocals, which sound really fire in my opinion. And also, too, guys, I like that there's a whole ass little switch up. There's a whole entire instrumental switch up, whole entire vocal switch up that happens in the middle of the song. And honestly, you know, this song, being only 3 minutes long, has more switch-ups, has more, you know, has more everything that you can want in a song. And this 3-minute song, than like 30, probably like 30 or 40 songs that I've reviewed on this show recently, this one right here probably beats all of those songs that I've reviewed, which is just absolutely insane. So, guys, when we talk about this song, when we talk about Sabrina Carpenter, Go Go Juice, the instrumental is really good. I like all the elements, the acoustic guitar, the fiddle, the drums, everything sounds really fire. Then we have some really good engaging verses, really good flows. The lyrics are pretty fun too, etc. And then we got a really good hook to finish off this song, and an ending bridge too, which is really fire. So overall, the streak is continuing on this show, guys. I will be giving this song a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10, guys. What y'all think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I don't know. Let me know. Guys, if you're on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast at, make sure you follow, turn on notifications, guys. We're dropping new content every single day. We got more reviews coming. We'll be reviewing the final track off the album. That'll be the final track review. And then, guys, it's album review time. It's time to finally get that album review going. So I'll see y'all later. You have a good one. Yeah. Bye. Sabrina Carpenter, goodbye. Let's talk about it. How y'all doing? Welcome to Let's Talk About It, Music Reviews, Season 11. How y'all doing? Welcome to the show. Guys, this is the final track review. I mean, it's been a journey. I ain't gonna lie. You know, it's been a few days of covering this album. And I'm not gonna lie, guys. This has been a pretty good experience. I mean, going from the last album, and, you know, also going from the last album to the last album's deluxe, I was very curious of what this album was going to sound like, and I'm going to say, this album has definitely blown out a lot of expectations, a lot of early expectations that I set, in the beginning of what I talked about, last week, has already happened, and honestly has happened, and a little bit more. So there's a lot that, happened on this album. We will be talking about it on Wednesday. For my 4 a.m. people that remember that time schedule I was doing, 4 a.m. Here's a little 4 a.m. review that you can wake up to on Tuesday for. But this is the final track review, guys. It's been a good ride. It's been a good journey covering this album. I can't wait to finish this album and start talking about the NFL. But, first we got to talk about this. And we got to talk about this song, guys, which is called Goodbye. This is the final track off the album. I was debating if I was going to do a final track off the album review. Usually I don't really pick the last song because a lot of albums, the last song is never, never feels like the last song. It never feels like that. So I never really picked the last song off the albums. But this time, it's a Sabrina Carpenter album. I might as well do it. Usually there's always something at the end of these songs. So let's get into it, starting off talking about the beat. I really do like this instrumental. I like how this instrumental has a lot to it. It does remind me of kind of the first track. When we listen to Tears had a lot of orchestra kind of vibes going on here. But this is kind of taking those orchestra vibes and kind of, upping them up by, 10 times. You actually got some trumpets here. You got some more violin actually, really doing its thing on here, which I really like. You also got some keys. You also got some, instruments that I'm not really picking up that I can hear. I'm hearing some clapping. I'm hearing some, stomping. I'm hearing a lot of other elements that are just kind of baked into this track, which, keeps the value going, keeps it going up, keeps you want to keep listening over and over and over again, which is great. And I was kind of surprised, we even had, an instrumental break. This song is only like 3 minutes long, but it feels like a 4 to 5 minute song, even though it's not that long, which, is really cool in my opinion. It means there's a lot into the track. It means that, as you keep listening to, there's all these different elements that you're picking up. So I think this instrumental is great. I like all the sounds to it. The only thing I will say about this instrumental, I really wish there was some more drums. I wish there was some more drums in here. I think some really good drums would have made this song go up even more. I like the instrumental. I like how it's moving you. It's got a lot going on. It's got a lot of background elements too. But I really wish there was more on the drums. I feel like the drums could have been turned up a little bit more, etc. I just wish we would have got some drums. But besides that, guys, all the elements on this instrumental, absolutely do hit. So I definitely do enjoy that. And now let's move on and let's start talking about the first verse. First of all, I don't really usually talk about lyrics that much on songs. But I'll say, these lyrics were pretty good, pretty written well. Sounds pretty good. It's about heartbreak, etc. Honestly, I'll be real. The amount of heartbreak songs that are on this album goes way over what Short and Sweet did, went way over what the Deluxe did. So, if you were expecting a horny album, you're definitely not getting much of that horny album. You're getting a lot more heartbroken songs here. So I would say the writing was pretty good on here, sounds pretty good. And then, the singing on here, I'd say the singing was pretty good. I like the flow overall. My only thing about this song that I don't really like is there's a moment where she does these vocal switch-ups. And there's this higher pitch vocal switch-up that she does when she's singing. And I'll be real, it kind of felt too much like talking. I'll just be real, it didn't really sound like singing in my opinion. It sounded, like, we're doing the ha-ha, talking a little bit in the track. And I'll be real, guys, I don't like talking in music that much. If you start talking in your song, I immediately just want to turn it off. I'm not coming to listen to a song to listen to a goddamn podcast. That's not what I signed up for. And so, I definitely heard that, but it was only a slight vocal switch up, and then it goes back to the hook. And the hook was overall really good. You know, I like the vocals, I like the singing, I like there's actually some vocal runs. You know, a lot of pop songs don't have a lot of goddamn vocal runs, you know. This one actually has some vocal runs. The background vocals coming in really helping it out, in my opinion, which was really enjoyable. And yeah, guys, I'll say this, you know, overall when we talk about this song, Sabrina Carpenter, Goodbye, you know, I think all the elements here, the instrumental really pushing in, really doing its thing with the violin, with the trumpets, with the orchestra vibe going on. I wish there was some more drums in this, you know, instrumental, but the instrumental overall was really great. Then you have some really good verses, a really good hook. And I would say, guys, for a final track off the album, this is a pretty good final track off the album. But is it a good final track off the album just to listen to by itself? And I would say yes. I definitely would, you know, give this one. I don't think this is going to hit, you know, the high tier of what we've been doing. You know, this doesn't, you know, keep the crazy, you know, score streak going what we were doing on this album. But I will say this is a really good track and pretty good track to end off this album. So overall, I'm going to be giving Goodbye an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10, guys. What y'all think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I don't know. Let me know, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you're on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast at, make sure you follow, turn on notifications, guys. We're dropping new content every single day. And hey, guys, album reviews coming up, so make sure you get ready for that. That'll be coming up very soon. Right after you're listening to this track review is the final one. The next thing that will be uploaded is an album review of Sabrina Carpenter's new album, Man's Best Friend. So we'll be doing that very soon, guys. I'll be talking about that, so make sure you follow so you get notified when that drops, and I'll see y'all later. You have a good one. Bye. Sabrina Carpenter, Man's Best Friend album review. Let's talk about it. How y'all doing? Welcome to Let's Talk About It. Music Reviews Season 11. How y'all doing? Welcome to the show, guys. We're finally here. You know, this is the end of the marathon, guys. We've been talking about Sabrina Carpenter since last Thursday, or Thursday night, and I haven't stopped listening to this album ever since. You know, I've listened to it a few times over, and guys, I'm going to say this, you know, opening thoughts about the Sabrina Carpenter album, I just want to say that, you know, the production value on this album is just so much better, so much greater than whatever, you know, what Short and Sweet was. Short and Sweet was great, but, you know, the production on here, you know, it feels more spontaneous, it feels more, you know, natural. You know, there's songs where, you know, it doesn't feel like we're jumping from a genre sound to a genre sound like Short and Sweet. You know, we're you know, this is a pop album, you know, but there's some pop song elements, there's some, you know, heartbreaks, you know, sad song elements in this album. There's also some country, you know, acoustic instrumental production too. You know, the bending of genres here was just so great to listen to, in my opinion. I think it was done really well. So let's get into this album, guys. Let's start off, you know, I'll start off how we go over my album reviews. You know, always got to break down how we do it around here. I'll be giving 3 basic overall points, and then I'll be going over every single track off the album and giving my 1 out of 5 score. Then at the end of the album, we're going to add up all these 1 out of 5 scores, and I'll be giving you a final 1 out of 10 score to end off this album review. So guys, we got a lot to talk about. We have over 12 tracks to get to. And let's get started, guys. Starting off with my first point, which is going to be the production of this album. You know, I really feel like the production on this album was so good. You know, there's so many, you know, 80s-like synth elements in this album. There's a lot of country, you know, fiddle, acoustic guitar, twang elements too that I just really enjoyed. You know, I like all the different vocal switch-ups that were on this overall album. You know, there were some country switch-ups, there were some nice pop switch-ups, and there was even some R&B-like vocals with House Tour. House Tour comes on, and now I'm maybe expecting, you know, maybe something like, you know, the Hot Song. And then, you know, it wasn't like that, you know, it was like an 80s, like, R&B, like, type song. It was just so good to listen to, you know, the synths, the 808 bass, etc. I think just everything really worked for that song, and I really like how we get elements like that And then you get tracks like Sugar Talkin', which just had such a great hook. The hook was so addicting. That ending vocal runaway on Sugar Talkin' was just so good. So overall, I really do enjoy the production. Now, my next point, let's talk about the vocals. I think the vocals were perfect on this album. There were so many moments where there were so many great vocal runaways. There were so moments where, vocals just sound so goddamn good. All the different vocal switches too just, provided so much value.
Welcome to Sephora.
I'm looking for a perfume that's not too perfumey.
I got you.
Serum moisturizer or moisturizer serum.
Let's get into layering.
My concealer is making me look worse.
Sounds like the wrong shade. Let's get you matched.
There's only one store that really gets what you're going for. Get beauty from people who get beauty. Only at Sephora.
Hi, Let's get you a basket. With the Walmart app, you can squeeze in those final days of summer and nail that back-to-school shopping list. So keep working on that tan and let Walmart Express Delivery handle the rest. Chromebooks, Clorox wipes, Sharpies, glue sticks, pens, pencils, and more. All delivered in as fast as an hour. So pour yourself another iced tea. Summer's not over. Last-minute back-to-school supplies delivered fast. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new. Subject to availability. Fees and restrictions apply.
So much listening value to the music which you're listening to, which is so just great to hear. And then, I think I like the fact that this album's, even the verses, how well the verses were written. And that's what we'll get to the next point, which is the lyrics. I never really talk about lyrics on an album, but today I'm going to be adding a lyrics point because this is the first time in a long time that I've actually, paid attention to the pop lyrics on this album. And I will say the lyrics on here were beautifully written. The wordplay was so good. Metaphors used here were so good. Songs like, House Tour or Tears, all those different metaphors that were in here. There were some sexual innuendos, throughout this whole entire album, but there also was, some really great heartbreaking songs, some really, emotional moments, moments where, the orchestra, like instrumental, gets to really play out. Vocal runs are so deep and so passionate because there's actually some sadness, there's actually some, realism into these vocals, which you definitely do hear. So yeah, lyrics on here were just absolutely fantastic in my opinion. So now let's move on, guys, and let's start talking about every single track. We're going to be going over every single track, rating it 1 out of 5. I'll be giving my thoughts about all the tracks on this album. Man's Best Friend, this was a 12-track album, 38 minutes long, which is really nice. I love it when albums, are actually on a decent length. Once we're over 20 songs, once we're over 30 songs, there's going to be moments where you're not going to really enjoy. So let's get into this, starting off with the first track, Man Child. Man Child, going back and listening to the song, I really enjoyed Man Child. It's not the best Sabrina Carpenter song, but I think the hook is really addicting. I think using the word man child is actually really clever in my opinion. And there's a lot of, there's a lot of man childs out there. It's an epidemic. It's a disease, I might add. So, it makes all the sense in the world. And Man Child, I would say, is a really good track. Instrumental was really good. I like how there's like a country, like guitar, like, little twang to it throughout this whole entire track. But then you get that addicting pop hook, those addicting verses. The verses, in my opinion, were not really for me. That's what I'll say about Man Child. There was some talking in the first one, and then the second one I just didn't really enjoy that much. But Man Child overall is a really good track. I'll give this track a 4 out of 5. Tears is going to get a 5 out of 5. Alright, this song just sounds really good. I like the 80s and pop synth vibes that are, baked into this song. The bass here is just so good. The orchestra, the orchestra instrumental runaway, just letting the instrumental do its goddamn thing was just so beautiful to listen to. I mean, the vocals on here were so good. The hook was so good. This track right here is an easy 5 out of 5. And then We Almost Broke Up Again last night. This track, too. Lyrics were really good on this track. Instrumental was just fantastic. Vocals on here were really deep, really personal. Really good song, in my opinion. 5 out of 5. The next song is Nobody's Son. Nobody's Son 2 was a really good track. I was surprised, Nobody's Son. I said I might not like this track, and then I listened to this track, guys, and I was like, oh, wait a second. I got to do a review about this song because, yeah, this song's really goddamn good. The instrumental, the acoustic guitar country-like instrumental in this song, it's so good. Nobody's Son's a 5 out of 5. Never Getting Laid. Never Getting Laid is also going to be a 5 out of 5 because the hook is so goddamn good. The vocals are so goddamn deep on the hook that I'm just like, holy shit. The way the instrumental also builds too, and it has this climax moment with the hook like every single fucking time. I mean, goddamn, guys. This song right here is an easy 5 out of 5. And then, When Did You Get Hot? This song right here, too, is a 5 out of 5. There's a lot of goddamn 5 out of 5s on this album. I'm sorry, but look, the way that this instrumental is addicting, the way the drums sound so goddamn good, that funky, kind of romantic kind of bass that's just kind of baked throughout this whole entire track. This song right here, guys, the hook. I mean, the hook is just going to get stuck in your head alone. Easy 5 out of 5. And then you get Go-Go Juice, which is another... It's another easy 5 out of 5 because I would really think, guys, that I like all of the country elements that are in this song. This is for the country people. This is your country drinking song right here. This is your heartbreak drinking song right here. It's framed like it's a heartbreak, maybe a heartbreak drinking song, but no, it's actually a freaky, I'm going to get drunk and I'm going to call everybody that I goddamn know and we're about to go fucking crazy. So it's a freaky ass song, and guys, I always have to support the freaky ass songs because, hey, everybody's on that type of time these days, so I'm going to have to easily give it a 5 out of 5. Don't Worry, I'll Make You Worry. I really like the instrumental. I like the vocal style. I also like the vocal style on the hook. I think the hook is just absolutely fantastic on here. This one, too, is a 5 out of 5. And then House Tour. House Tour. Guys, I forgot about this goddamn song. I might be adding it to my personal music playlist because this is what I've been wanting. This is the R&B, 80s, synth, wave sound that, I've really been wanting, in pop music. If you're going to make songs with R&B background vocals, you're going to have all these different elements. When you make a song like House Tour, this is a fucking cheat code. I mean, this song sounds fantastic. I mean, the vocal style, the deep ass jazzy bass that's throughout this whole entire track, these synthy ass R&B synths too that just sound so good, these great drums that just get stuck in your head, and then those addicting verses, that addicting hook comes in. This song right here is absolutely fantastic, and if I was going to recommend a song off this album, I would definitely be recommending House Tour. I mean, holy shit. And then the final track to end off this album is Goodbye. Goodbye is going to get a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed the vocals on here. I really enjoyed the hook. Yeah, this song is really good. I just really like how, every time the hook is over, there's a vocal runway at the end that just, sounds really goddamn good. The different languages of saying goodbye to was really funny. That shit was, absolutely hilarious to listen to. So, even for that, just having a little laugh in the song, even if it's a really depressing, heartbreaking, heartfelt song, I think Goodbye is an absolute great ending to an album. One of the best. I thought Short and Sweet was good. Nah, Short and Sweet's ending, that was fine, but this is a really good way to end the album off. Guys, when we talk about Sabrina Carpenter, Man's Best Friend, this album was highly anticipated, even had some controversy that was layered into this album, and even my own expectations for this album have fully been met, have fully been ran over. I mean, holy shit, you can't just do these, like, 80s, like, R&B, older inspired, like, songs and not, you know, do it again. Hopefully we get more of this type of music. I mean, it was so goddamn good. Guys, I'm going to say this, and, you know, after listening to this album throughout the whole entire way, this might be one of the best pop albums in 2025. I don't think there's going to be a pop album that even hits this level, and I'll be real, I really don't even think Taylor Swift is going to hit this type of score. Guys, this is really only, you know, this really is like one of a kind. This is one of those albums where I go, this is a one-of-a-kind score. You know, don't be basing your entire discography now on pop music for this album. But I'm not going to lie, this album has definitely set a new standard. This album, you know, needs to be studied by every, you know, upcoming pop artist that wants to make pop music, because this is how you're supposed to do it. The instrumental variety in this album alone kills any fucking pop album or song that I've listened to in 2024 and 2023. Guys, this, I can't believe I'm actually giving this score. Guys, we're giving a big score today. This album actually shocked me, and I've said it on my own, you know, criteria. I made this criteria, you know, back in 2020, and this criteria has only ever reached the 9 out of 10 peak. But today we're changing it up, because I think the last score I've given like this was, you know, the Silk Sonic Bruno Mars days. So there's only a few people that have reached this level, in my opinion. So I'm gonna have to do it, guys. I'm gonna be giving Man's Best Friend a perfect 10 out of 10. Guys, 10 out of 10. What'd y'all think about this album? Did you like it like I did? Did you love it like I did? Do you think it's...
That's the sound of the fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron and the quiet confidence of ultra-smooth handling. The elevated interior reminds you this is more than an EV. This is electric performance redefined.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
10 out of 10 like I did. I don't know, let me know. Guys, thank you so much for listening. It's been a great time reviewing this Sabrina Carpenter marathon. All the songs have been absolutely fantastic. And hey, I don't know how she could ever top this or, you know, keep going forward. But I hope, as I always say, I hope artists keep evolving. I hope they keep improving. And, you know, I don't know if there will be another album like this, because this feels, you know, like a heartbreak. Like, this feels like a once in a lifetime chapter in life. And once you're past this chapter, you know, I don't know if you can ever reach this level of emotional, you know, maturity, and, you know, I don't know if you can ever reach this level again on an album, but we'll see. You never fucking know. So yeah, guys, I'll see y'all later. You have a good one. Yeah, guys. Bye.